Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife. In today's McDojo news, we're going to talk about how a Taekwondo instructor is going away for quite a while in prison because of the attempted murder of his ex-wife. Let's go and check out the story. A Hennepin County jury reached speedy verdicts Tuesday evening, convicting a Taekwondo master from St. Paul of aiding first-degree attempted murder in connection to the ambush shooting of a Minneapolis police crime scene investigator, the mother of their son. After 2 weeks of testimony, it took jurors roughly an hour of deliberation to find Anthony Amacher guilty of aiding first-degree attempted murder and aiding an accomplice after the fact. He is accused of plotting to kill Nicole Linway with the help of an ex-girlfriend and former student, Colleen Larson, in order to gain full custody of his 6-year-old son. Linway was among dozens of witnesses called to the stand throughout the trial. She was shot on April 20th at point-blank range in the neck and testified for 8 hours about her toxic relationship with Amacher, whom she met at his martial arts studio in 2012. Assistant Hennepin County Attorney Patrick Lofton said in his closing argument Tuesday that Amacher is the only person with the motive to kill Linway, who miraculously survived the shooting and, quote, 10 years of hell that he's put her through. All that harassment, all that stalking, abuse, threats, false reports of child abuse, Lofton said. Throughout that, you start to get a sense of who this man is, of his worldview, of how far he's willing to go. Larson, age 25, has said Amacher, age 41, pressured her into carrying out the attack outside FamilyWise, a supervised visit and exchange center in Minneapolis, where Amacher had weekly visitation with his son. Larson is charged with attempted first-degree murder, and her trial is set for January. While Amacher was inside FamilyWise with his son, surveillance video showed Linway walking up to the facility, and Larson running up from behind with her arm extended. Linway fell to the sidewalk after the first shot, and she testified that Larson stood above her and fired again. What would drive Larson to do this? Lofton said. It's not her son she doesn't have custody of. It's not her son she has to see under lock and key. She's not the one who has been in 4-year custody battle. This was an assassination attempt. It's just that simple, Lofton said. Prosecutors pointed to the key pieces of evidence that they said showed Amacher's premeditation and coordination with Larson. The day before the shooting, he registered for a new license plate on his Dodge Ram truck that Larson used to drive that day to FamilyWise, and she arrived 7 minutes before Linway. On the day of the shooting, the truck is without plates. The day after, temporary plates were on the truck. Amacher didn't tell police immediately after the shooting that he owned a Dodge Ram, Lofton said. He also didn't express any concern when police told him that the mother of his son was shot just outside of the building. It had nothing to do with me, he told police inside FamilyWise, recorded on officer body-worn cameras. I didn't even hear gunshots. The weapon, a .380 handgun, was never located. Amacher said he had owned 2. One he sold to Steve Slesher, a trial attorney who served on the prosecution team in the Derek Chauvin trial and who testified that he bought the firearm from Amacher. Amacher told police he gave the other .380 to Linway, which she denied in testimony. An empty .380 case was found in Amacher's home along with spent shell casings. A firearm expert testified that they matched the casings at the crime scene. Lofton said the biggest smoking gun is the fact that no phone calls or text messages were exchanged between Amacher and Larson during and after the shooting, which suggests they had the attack planned. Amacher's attorney, Larry Reed, asked Judge Shirin Ascalani to acquit his client of the charges because he said the state did not present any evidence that proved Amacher aided and abetted Larson. Ascalani denied. Reed didn't call any witnesses to the stand, and Amacher waived his right to testify. Reed said in his closing argument there is no evidence or testimony that Amacher gave Linway a .380 gun. He said Amacher 100% cooperated with police, handing his phone over to the police and sharing with them his concern about Linway allegedly abusing their son. All he wanted was for her to be a good mother to her son, Reed said. He told jurors that he would have understood if they found the weeks of testimony a, quote, needless waste of time as it focused too much on Larson, child custody, and smearing of Amacher. But you are his only hope, Reed said. He cannot get justice without you. Amacher will be sentenced on January 18th. Let's unpack that. So this Taekwondo instructor, Timothy Amacher, I guess I should say former Taekwondo instructor now because he's going to jail for a while, got his girlfriend, who by the way was an ex-student, so I'm pretty sure we could put 2 and 2 together here and say they probably met at his martial arts studio, to go out and literally shoot his ex-wife. Not only shoot her once and then run away, but shot her, walked up to her, stood over her, and shot again. And somehow this woman still survived. That lady is tough as nails. Then during the trial, the girlfriend flips on him, completely admits to everything, and says clearly that this man was the reason that she went out and did that. It seems like a pretty clear-cut case of somebody who was asked to do a murder for someone. What really irritates me is what the defending attorney said at the end. He told jurors that he would have understood if they found the weeks of testimony a needless waste of time, as it focused too much on larceny, child custody, and smearing of Amacher. That's the entire point. They're trying to establish a motive. They're trying to show he had a reason for doing what he did, and that seems like a pretty clear-cut reason. It's ridiculous. But anyway, this brings up something that I think is important, is just because someone has a black piece of cloth around their waist and you call them sensei or sifu or professor or whatever you want to call them, doesn't mean they're a good person. This dude happens to be good at kicking things. And yet somehow, miraculously, whenever we start putting our children or ourselves into a martial arts facility, we put these people up on pedestals like they already have honor and integrity and respect and all that other crap that comes with it. That's just not the case. They are simply a person who has a skill and they're selling their service. Me, myself, of course I've been an asshole. I'm not perfect. I don't want you to give me all of those strange virtues. I want to have to earn them, and I don't earn them all the time. Sometimes I'll say something and you'll be like, that's on the money. And sometimes I'll say something and you'll be like, I don't agree. That happens. That's called life. That's how the world works. Your martial arts instructor is no different. They are not 100% accurate all the time. They don't 100% have all those virtues all the time. They're just people. And in this case, a psychotic person who decided to try to kill his ex-wife so he can get control of his son. But anyway, I guess that brings us to the question of the day. The question of the day is something that I see pop up all the time. It's a phrase that happens to pop up in comment sections across any martial arts forum I've ever seen or been on. It's the term real martial artist. So the question of the day for you guys is, what is a real martial artist? Make sure you answer that question before you give me your comments about the story in the comment sections below. As always, thank you all for the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, and all that other crap people online tell you to do. Keep the martial arts legit.
My baby got robbed the other day by degenerate. So she wanted to learn some new form of this self-defense. So she did her research and perused it online and found this dude said he could move shit with his mind. He called himself Sifu Paul Zimmerman. He got a dojo with a strip mall near Cinnabon. Now she spends all day trying to break boards with her thoughts, but the only thing she's breaking is my little heart. Things just savage.